Phyllis here from southernfrugal.com. Okay, this morning we're going to make some bread using the Vitamix. And this is going to be French bread. Now, I've never done this before, so y'all will just be going along with me as I try it. I have made a lot of French bread, but never in a Vitamix. So, this is going to make one loaf. So, the instructions are a little complicated, I'll tell you. But I think once you get the hang of it, it's probably going to be a lot easier. All right, so the first thing we need to do is to warm up the water where the yeast is going to dissolve. So this is just 1 cup of water. Let me turn the camera down. And what I'm going to do is pour that right in to a little bowl, half a cup of it. And we'll reserve the other half. And in this, I'm going to go ahead and put 1 tablespoon of active dry yeast. And I'm deviating from the recipe just a little bit by adding about a half a teaspoon of sugar. Because I know those yeast, they like to, eat the sugar. So I'm just going to use a fork, just a regular little salad fork, to kind of mix that up. Let those yeast get busy reproducing, or whatever they do. And I do get my yeast from King Arthur. I usually order it once a year, and I usually order it in January. Let me show you how much I got left. This is an old peanut butter jar, and the yeast from King Arthur comes in this square vacuum packed thing, and it fills this up completely. So that's how much I've used in a year. Usually I've used it up by now. I'm not sure. Maybe I just didn't make as much bread this year as I usually do. But anyway, so we're going to set that aside. And let that just proof. Now I know my yeast are good, but we'll just go by the directions. Alright, so I'm going to have to go in there and let my dogs in there scratching at the door. I'll be right back. Alright, we're back, and now we're ready to add the flour and the salt to this dry container. Now this, when you buy the Vitamix and you get the 5200 series, or at least the one I got, the little dry container comes with it. Alright, so what we're looking for is 2.5 cups, and I'm using the gold medal bread flour. And again, you don't really have to sift flour when you're making bread, only when you're making cakes. All right, so we need 2, and I'm looking at the recipe here, 2.5 cups. Now, French bread is a very bland bread, and that's why it goes so well with everything like gravies and sauces. All right, so this is another half cup. All right, now to that, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. That should do it. All right, I'm just going right by the directions, okay? All right, so we'll put the lid on. Let me wipe that little flour off there. And here's where the complication comes. And I'm sure after you've done this a while, it won't be complicated at all. But right now, this is the first time I've done it, so let's move in a little closer. All right, so this is 2.5 cups of regular bread flour and 1 teaspoon of salt. Now the directions say place flour and salt into the Vitamix dry blade container and secure the lid, which I did. And then it says to select 1 on the variable speed, which I did. Well, let me show you down there. Variable speed 1. And then it says turn machine on and slowly increase speed to variable 6. And I'm to blend until a hole forms in the container in the flour mixture, which they say will take about 5 seconds. All right, so here we go. Got it on variable speed 1. Turn it on, turn it to 6. This will take about 5 seconds. So all right, now remove the lid and then definite hole has formed right down in the center there. All right, so now it says select variable speed 3, turn machine on, and remove the lid plug. All right, so we're going to put the lid back on and remove the plug there. And then we're going to add the yeast and the water. So now my yeast is all foamed up here, so I'm trying to figure out how I can get this in that small little hole there. I guess I didn't think about that. Alright, so what I'm going to do is pour my yeast back into the water here. I think I had a little more than a cup of water. That's about right. Alright, I'm going to pour my yeast and a little sugar mixture back into the cup. See if I can get that all out of there. Oh, sorry, y'all can't see. Alright, I poured it back into the cup so it'll be easier to pour into this top container with the lid out, because that's a pretty small hole there. So let's see, let me go back to the directions. Alright, so it says select variable speed 1, and it's on variable speed there, and turn machine on and remove the lid plug. Slowly add yeast mixture and remaining 1/2 cup warm water, a little at a time, just until incorporated through the lid plug opening. Stop machine and replace lid plug. Alright, so we're going to do this. Alright, we're going to go ahead and turn it on. It's on variable speed 1. Make sure it's right there. Okay, now I'm going to pour this in slowly. Says, after I poured it in, I'm trying to read these directions. Slowly add yeast mixture, adjust until incorporated through the lid plug opening. Stop machine and replace lid plug. Okay. It's not really super incorporated, but I guess I'm not sure what they meant. Alright, now, stop machine, replace lid plug. Select high speed. Slowly turn machine on and off 2 times. Alright, so I'm going to select high speed, slowly turn machine, stop machine, select, slowly turn machine on, off 2 times. Alright. Alright, that's 1, 2 times. Alright, while dough rests, grease medium-sized mixing bowl with olive oil. Alright, got my mixing bowl here, and they said about a tablespoon of olive oil. That looks about right. Let me get a little paper towel. Alright, now I'm just going to use a paper towel to grease this little bowl all the way around. Alright, that ought to do it. Alright, so I've done that step. Now, alright, grease it. Alright, I got to go to page 2 now. Y'all hold on. Get to page 2. Alright, now, it says use a wet, well, let me set this bowl aside. Let's go back to the Vitamix. Alright, I knew I was going to have to use a wet spatula. This is a Vitamix spatula, so I just went ahead and got me a glass of water. Alright, let's put that aside. Alright, use a wet nylon spatula to scrape the sides of the container, pulling the dough away from the container sides and into the center of the mixture. Okay, here we go. Pulling the dough, which doesn't look like it's mixed up all that well to me. But I'm just going to take their word for it. Just pull it away from the sides. All right. Get that off the spatula. It's definitely warm. And I think this is good because the Vitamix is actually keeping the mixture warm. Or at least that's what it seems to me. All right, I've done that. Now, pulling dough away from the sides, the center mixture, replace the lid. All right, here's the lid. All right, after I replace the lid, select high speed, it's on high already, and slowly turn the machine on and off 5 times. And now it says add additional water, 1 tablespoon at a time, if the dough seems exceptionally dry. All right, so let me get some water here. All right, so one more time. I told y'all this was complicated. All right, select high speed, slowly turn the machine on and off 5 times, add additional water, 1 tablespoon at a time, only if the dough seems exceptionally dry. And then we're going to repeat that process 5 times, scraping the sides of the container until the dough binds together. All right, I can tell you already, I definitely think that I need more water. All right, so I'm going to start out with just 1 tablespoon in there. All right, now, all right, one more time. I've got it on high speed. Turn on and off 5 times. All right, here we go. All right, that was 5 times. All right, repeat process 5 times, scraping the sides of the container until the dough binds together. All right. So I need to scrape down the container sides again. It smells good, really very yeasty. Scrape it down. All right, we did that. And I think the actual heat from how fast the blades turn is actually keeping it the right warmth there, really. All right, now we're going to have to let it rise after we get through this. All right, so that was 1 time. All right, now it says repeat this process 5 times, scraping the sides of the container until the dough binds together in a soft, elastic mixture. All right, so here we go. All right, I need to scrape down again. I know this seems like a lot of trouble, but I think that once you get the hang of this, it'd be pretty easy. You don't have to knead it that way. All right, so we're going to wait until it binds together. So, okay, that was 1 time. All right. All right, let me make sure. 5 times. No, that's to lift the dough. Repeat on, off 5 times. All right. All right. Take it off again. Are y'all watching this? It's a lot of trouble, right? But we're going to just see if it works. All right, here we go. See, I think that's twice I've done it. And what we're looking for is for this dough to bind together in the middle, to come away from the sides, or at least that's what I'm thinking. I don't think we need any more water. All right, one more time now. All right, I don't think I really need to scrape the sides that time. Well, maybe I do, just to be following the directions exactly. I love French bread, but I've always made it the other way. And I know that the warmth of your hands helps when you're kneading dough. The yeast love the warmth of your hands, but see, this feels warm to me, just slightly warm, which is good for the yeast. All right, I think I've done it twice. I'm going to have to do it 2 more times or 3 more times. Scrape down again. It's actually definitely coming together for sure. And the yeast are liking that because I can tell it's already rising a little bit. All right, one more time. Scrape it down again. I might be getting too much water in this from my wet spatula, so I'm going to kind of dry that off a little bit. All right, just get it a little bit wet. And all that really does is prevents the dough from sticking to the spatula, I guess. All right, we're coming right along. All right, I'm going to do it one more time. So now, I think that's the right number of times. All right, to aid in removing the dough from the container, turn the machine on and off 5 times. This lifts the dough up and away from the blades and slowly invert the container over the prepared bowl using a wet spatula to remove any remaining dough. Turn dough to coat. And all right, so here we are. We're just about ready to put it in the bowl to allow it to rise. All right, so. All right, got our bowl ready. All right, now we're gonna dump it out. All right. I'll use my spatula to help get it out. Yeah, this container is definitely warm. Not hot, it's just barely warm, really. There it went. Oh, okay. And it's definitely a wet dough. Let's see if I can get the rest of that out of there. Right now I need to turn this to coat it. Get that off the side. Y'all see that? Turning it to coat it. Now the truth of the matter is with French bread, you really don't have to knead French bread but a little bit. I mean, that's the benefit of it being a yeast bread. I'm just going to turn it under a little bit. It's definitely warm. You know, not too hot, but just warm. And I can feel there's some stiffer there. So I'm just going to turn it under a little bit and take care of that. All right, now we're going to let this rise for about 45 minutes to an hour. And the directions said until it's tripled in bulk. Cover plastic layer, almost triple in size. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put it over on my hot pad over there. Let me find it. There it is. No, it's that way. There it is, behind the Vitamix, and let it rise for 45 minutes to an hour. And the directions say until tripled in bulk. All right, so when that happens, I'm going to cover it up with the foil, I mean not foil, but saran wrap, and we'll be back. Okay, I've got my little dough over here rising on a little heating pad. Here's what I'm going to do, because you really have trouble getting the little dough mixture out from the bottom of these blades. I've added some water to that. I'm going to give it maybe a teaspoon or so of sugar, and I'm going to put the lid on it, give it a little whirl, and I'm going to save this as like a starter kit. So I'll put it on, let's say, about 2. Alright, now all I'm going to do, see the watery mixture, I'm just going to pour this in a bowl, put it in the refrigerator because there's all kinds of yeast still in there. And then when I want to make, something with yeast, I can use it. I think this will last for probably 4 or 5 days in the refrigerator while those little yeast eat that sugar and the flour that was in there. So we're going to see if that won't work. All right, we'll be back once the dough over here almost triples, this way, almost triples in bulk. All right, we'll be back. All right, our little dough has doubled, almost tripled in bulk, and we're ready to roll it out now. Now at this point, of course, we're through with the Vitamix, right? But we're going to roll this out and make it into a loaf. All right, so this is just a little plastic thing I use to roll out pie crust sometimes. So I'm going to sprinkle some flour on there. And then I'm just going to punch this down a little bit. Dump it right out on top of that flour. And then we're going to make it into a loaf. By the way, it smells really yeasty. So I just use my hand. You can use a rolling pin or whatever you need to do to mash it out. Flatten it out. By the way, it's nice and warm. And we're going to start rolling it up. Now I need to get me just a little bit of water because I'm going to paste these ends together once we get it rolled up. So hold on. Just a teeny little bit of water in a bowl. All right, so now to make our loaf, we're just going to roll it up. And I just pinch mine sort of as we're going around. And by the way, this is a really nice little dough that the Vitamix made, I'll have to say. And what the Vitamix really does is eliminates the need of kneading the dough. So just walk it around and roll it all up. Kind of get it rolled up tight if you can. And then you want to just kind of wet the end of it a little bit. Pull it over and pinch it. Pinch it all the way down. I mean, I think at this point the Vitamix can almost do anything, you know? Very impressed with it. All right, so now we've got our little loaf. I'm not using my big shiny pans for this. I'm going to use this because it kind of gets dark around the edge and I don't want to mess up my shiny stainless steel pans with this. I mean, they're still sort of new to me, you know. All right, so now just going to pick this up and put the seam side down. Now we need to make some slits in the top of it so that it doesn't, you know, end up getting bubbles up in it. And I'm just using a serrated knife. There you go. And I'm just going to, I'll make mine sort of diagonal. Now you don't have to make as many cuts as I'm making in mine. I like to do it like this because that makes it easier to cut the slices when the bread is done. All right, now that we've got it all rolled up, we need to let it rise again until it's sort of doubled in bulk. And we're going to cover it up with some saran wrap and put it right over on this is my hot pad, and I've got it up on a little trivet, and I put the pot holder on it because I don't want it to, get real hot on the bottom. I just want the heat to make it rise. All right. So I'm going to cover that up, and once it's ready to be baked, we'll be back. Okay, the bread has completed rising, and it's ready to go in the oven, but first we want to brush it with a little egg white and water as per the instructions. And I'm going to give y'all a link to the Vitamix site where this recipe came from. So now we're just going to brush it just a little bit with the egg white and the water mixture. That's going to make the crust really nice and brown. Now we're going to bake this at, let me check now, 425 degrees it says, for 30 to 40 minutes. Now I'm just guessing, but knowing my oven, it's going to probably be about 30 minutes or less even. But I'm going to keep checking it. All right, so in the oven it goes, and we'll be back when it's done. Okay, the French bread is done, and you can probably see why I used the old pan. What you had to do was grease the sheet you were going to bake it on, and then put some cornmeal over the top of that. All right, that's so it doesn't really burn on the bottom. All right, so I'm going to let this cool for just a little while. Well, you can tell if bread is done. It needs to sound sort of hollow on the inside. Hear that? It sounds sort of hollow, and it's light. All right, when this is cool enough to cut, we'll be back. Okay, the directions said to let this completely cool before you cut it, but we can't wait that long. They also said to cut it with a serrated knife, but I'm going to actually try my little new knife and see how it goes. All right, here we go. All right, let's try the serrated knife. I think that might work better. All right, there it is. Got a little hole in it, see? Should press all the air out of it. But look, it's light and airy. Gotta put some butter on this. Let that melt. I'm gonna cut Mr. Bucky a piece too. Now, French bread, of course, the crust is supposed to be really hard, which it is. There. All right, now you could eliminate the holes, but when you're rolling it up, just roll it a little tighter than what I rolled it. Smells super, super good. All right, I think it worked. Another little piece of butter. Now, I like the end piece, so I'm taking that butter off and put it on the end piece. I love all this crust, the really hard crust. It tastes really good. All right, there we go. Let's try a piece of it. It's good, really good. Very good. Just like the kind I make, only you only make one loaf with this. With the recipe that I've used before, and I did a video on the French bread, I always make 2 loaves. But anyway, the main thing was it mixed up and really basically kneaded it in the Vitamix. That's what it did. It's good. Excuse me. See y'all next time.